Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Mandy and today we are stocking the pantry. I have felt it on my heart that I need to be a little bit more prepared and better stock my pantry. So instead of going to the grocery store and buying a lot of the items that I like to keep on hand, I thought I need to go ahead and take some of these items that I already have, like dry beans, and I need to can them up and have canned beans on the shelf without spending any money. So I also just recently got a bunch of potatoes on sale. We are going to can those up as well. I have some fruit that my daughter brought me. We're gonna make some jelly, and yeah, let's see what all we can get done this week to stock up our pantry without going to the grocery store. All right, let's go.
All right, so we are starting today with some of these frozen prickly pears. My daughter had brought me these, probably 3 bags full, and probably anywhere from like 20 to 25 pounds of these frozen prickly pears. Now these have these little spines, if you will, like a cactus all over the outside of them, and you're supposed to peel them and then take the center out. Well, I read a couple things on the internet that said that you can cook them down and then strain it. So that's what I did. I didn't want to go through the trouble of skinning all of these, peeling all these. So I cooked them down, I strained it, and it made this amazing jelly. So good. I also decided I needed some more beans in my pantry. I was completely out. We really like the home canned beans. It works really well, and the process is pretty easy. So the first thing I do is take my dry beans and I try to pick out the broken ones. You don't have to do that. I just like the way it looks in the jars, the final product for the beans to be whole. So I wash the beans and then I measure out half a cup to each of these, what are these, pint jars, I think. I used to do quart jars, but and then I spilled them everywhere. Yeah, good job. I used to use quart jars, but we don't need that many beans anymore, so these pints are working really, really well. I filled each of these jars up with just tap water and let them soak overnight. I have not done this before. Usually I just dry can them. I pour boiling water over them and I pressure can them, but this time I thought I would try soaked beans, and I liked it a lot better. The beans weren't so packed in the jars when I canned them. I also did some red beans. While those were soaking, I had some chicken bones and onion skins and celery that I had thrown in the freezer. I also picked a little bit of fresh celery out of my garden, and I had this really sad looking carrot, and decided I need to get this stuff out of my freezer and make some chicken broth because I was out of that too. I have 1 can of turkey broth, but I'm all out of chicken. So I put all that in a great big pot. I added some salt and pepper, a couple bay leaves. You can pretty much add whatever you want to this. I let it go all night long. Now, mine was really foggy, which I've never had happen before. Usually when I make chicken broth, I do it in the Instant Pot, but I had so many bones this time, I thought I would do it on the stove, and for whatever reason, it was really foggy. I did read that the more you get out of the bones, the foggier your final product will be. I actually haven't tasted it yet, but I don't think it's gonna really affect the taste. It's just that much more nutrition, maybe, that you get out of the bones. I'm not really sure, but anyway, I strained this through just a regular strainer, and canned that up. So I think I'm adding 2 to 3 quarts in the bottom of my pressure canner here. I'm not sure the exact amount you're supposed to have in there, but that's what I did. I turned it on high to get it warmed up, so I'm not putting hot jars in a cold canner. You want hot jars to go in hot water. You don't want cold jars to go in hot water. I'm starting with my potatoes. I did sanitize my jars in that hot water. I am just raw packing these potatoes. Clayton peeled up, I think, about 10 pounds for me, and maybe it was 5 pounds. Anyway, he peeled them up. I chopped them up and let them sit overnight and soak so that they wouldn't have so much of that like starchy liquid in the jar with the potatoes. So I soaked them. The next morning I rinsed them, and I just packed the jars pretty much as full as I can. You want to leave a 1-inch head space, but once you add the boiling water and you shake them around a little bit, the potatoes settle a little bit, and you can actually even put a few more in there. So I got all these jars filled up. I think I got 7 quarts of potatoes, and I got these potatoes on sale for like $1.99 a bag, so it was very cheap. And of course I already had the jars, so just a very cheap item to put on the shelf. Now we use canned potatoes in soups. I make green beans with bacon, and I fry up the bacon. I add the green beans, I add some chicken broth, I let that cook until the green beans are tender, and then I just dump in a can of these canned potatoes, and it is so good. Such a yummy side dish, or even a meal, honestly. They're also really good in like any kind of soup or stew. You can kind of throw them in at the last minute. It's nice for in a crock pot because you can let everything cook all day, and you can leave the potatoes out and they won't get mushy. You just toss them in the last minute to let them heat up, and done. So I added some salt, I added some boiling water. I'm debubbling the jars with this wooden chopstick. I just move these potatoes around as much as I can to make sure there's no air left in the jars. I think that, I don't know, I had an issue with my potatoes this time. A lot of the water came out of the jars, and I don't know if it's because I put so many potatoes in there, or if I took them out of the jar or out of the canner before, it was cool enough. I don't know what happened, but a lot of the water siphoned out. They're still sealed. They're still okay. They just don't look like as nice. Anyway, you can see the bubbles there coming up to the top. And I am going to wipe the rims and get the lids on, and we are going to get them into the pressure canner. So I added 1 teaspoon of salt to each jar. These are going to be in the pressure canner for 40 minutes at 12 pounds of pressure. So that is it for these potatoes. All right, that is 7 quarts of potatoes. I bought 5-pound bags of potatoes on sale for $1.99 a piece. So this was 10 pounds with just a little bit left over. It makes these jars about 56 cents a jar, which is cheaper than any jarred food or canned food that I can buy in the store right now, except maybe a little thing of tomato paste or sauce, but that's wonderful, and they're gonna last a long time on the shelf. All right, so now I'm back at the chicken broth. I have this 8-cup like plastic measuring container here. I have my fine strainer, and then I decided to put what is this called? A bar towel or something, to try to strain out some of that fogginess. Anyway, I was hoping it would strain out some of the foggy stuff, but it really didn't. But like I said, it's totally fine. I'm not worried about it. There was also, it wasn't really finely strained, so I went through this step. I would not, I don't know that I would go through this again. It took a long time, and excuse me, it didn't really make that much of a difference. But Anyway, I'm putting this chicken broth back in a pot so I can heat it up before I go ahead and put it in my jars. You can see here that the potatoes are all done, and yeah, see how the water, like a lot of the water came out of that one. And I think what I might have done, because I had so much canning to do on this day, I might have released the pressure too soon in the pot instead of letting it cool down and then taking the lid off. I think I just rushed them out of the pot. And also, I lost one. I actually didn't check my jars on this day, but we do use these as drinking glasses occasionally, and it's a big no-no. Clayton tells me all the time not to use my canning jars as drinking glasses because, you know, they go through the dishwasher and they get, you know, put on the counter and rolled around, and it's just not the best. So here's my chicken broth. Like I said, I'm just heating it up. I sanitize these jars in my canner again, and then I am ladling hot chicken broth into hot jars, and they are going to go into a hot canner. You don't want a lot of temperature changes when you're doing something like this. So I'm just going to ladle this chicken broth into these jars. This has a lot of, you know, not a lot, but I mean, it's got fat and stuff in it. So you want to make sure you wipe the rims really well. I used white vinegar and wiped all the rims, and I didn't have any sealing issues with these at all. I just buy my jars at Walmart. I buy my lids at Walmart. They're just ball lids or cur lids. I'm not brand loyal, just whatever I can get, and usually it gets the job done. I did have one incident with one of the jars of beans. For whatever reason, it didn't seal, and when I was taking the rings off the jars after they had cooled, the lid popped right off. So luckily I caught it and was able to use the beans the next day. So it all worked out okay. I did make sure to check all the other jars just to make sure I didn't have any other issues. And I don't show it here, but I did, like I said, wipe those rims really, really well. And this is actually the first time I've got to use this little rack in my canner and do like a double stack, you know, stack the jars in there to get them all done. So that was nice. These are my red beans, all rinsed and drained the next morning. I decided that I didn't think there was enough beans in each jar, and I was afraid there was going to be like too much space, but I wish I wouldn't have done this because it really packed them in there once I canned them. So stick with that half cup of beans. Don't second guess yourself. Like I said, it was the first time I had soaked beans and then canned them. I had 3 extra jars here that I didn't need for the chicken broth. So I went ahead and just put the dry beans in there. I rinsed them and put them in 3 of the jars. And I will say that the beans swelled more canning them dry than the ones that I soaked. And that's what makes me decide that I really like the soaked beans better than the dried beans because they're not so packed in the jars. Like you open the jar of beans and you can pour them out with the soaked beans, but the dry beans you have to like get a spoon in there and like scoop them out because they're just so packed in there. So half a cup of beans to a pint jar, and then I added half a teaspoon of salt. You're gonna wipe the rims again. I am adding boiling water again to these jars, and I'm going to pressure can these for 75 minutes at 15 pounds of pressure. So beans is just one of those things I really enjoy canning. Yes, I can use dry beans, but when I'm in a hurry, not even when I'm in a hurry, when I want the convenience of having beans that I don't have to cook, even 30 minutes in the Instant Pot. I made chili the other day and I just browned up the ground beef, threw it in the crock pot with the seasonings and everything, and then I don't know, an hour before we were ready to eat, I dumped in a can of beans, and it's just so convenient. I really like it. Sometimes Clayton likes to have them with his breakfast. He makes refried beans, and you just open a jar and mash them. I mean, it's just super, super convenient. All right, so now the chicken broth is coming out. You can see it's not really that foggy. It's actually pretty yellow like a store-bought chicken broth would be. I don't know. It wasn't as clear as the chicken broth that I've made before. But anyway, also you can see those beans back there. When Clayton came home, that's my husband, he added some dried cayenne peppers that I grew in the garden this summer and some ghost peppers into a couple of the jars, and really enjoyed them that way too. So there's the beans going in. Again, I stacked them, and here they are, bubbling hot. You can see those ones in the front were the ones that I soaked. And oh, maybe I have it backwards. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure though the ones that I soaked I liked better. And this is the last little project I have here. I have some cranberries. I am going to make cranberry juice. We love having this around the holidays. It's it's homemade. It's just nice. It's really nice to have. I mix it sometimes with some Sprite or with some pineapple juice. Last year I made cranberry pineapple juice. It was really good. But in your quart jar, you're going to add, I think it's 1.5 cups of cranberries. You can add a third to, or you can add no less than 1/4 cup of sugar, and no, I wouldn't add more than 1/2 cup, I think is what it was, and I chose a third. Did that make sense? Anyway, I added 1/3 cup of sugar. I covered them with boiling water, and then again, you are going to debubble, mainly because you want to make sure all that sugar on the bottom gets dissolved, because I noticed that sometimes it will still be there when you take it out of the canner, but don't worry about it if it is. If it settles on the bottom, it will dissolve eventually. So stir those up. Make sure that you look over your cranberries before you put them in the jars. Sometimes you get a yucky one and you don't want it in there with your cranberry juice. Wipe the rims, put the lids and the rings on, and then we are going to pressure can these. I will leave the link below where I found this recipe, I guess you could call it. I did, like I said, I bought these ball wide mouth lids and put them on there. And they're so pretty. They're so pretty. I really enjoy canning these and giving them away as gifts. I gave some to my in-laws last year, and it's just really nice to have cranberry juice on the shelf, something you made, and I got the cranberries super cheap, so that is it. Don't they look pretty with the red on the top and the water on the bottom?
All right, and that is everything that we got in the pantry this week to help fill up our pantry. I'm so excited to have the cranberry juice ready for the holidays. The beans are just super convenient to open up a can of beans when you need them real quick for a meal. We really enjoy the potatoes, and the prickly pear jelly is so good. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really appreciate all of you watching, and don't forget to leave me a comment down in the comment box. Please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video really soon. Bye guys.